So the Jiva is the initiator. Paramatma approves or sanctions, and ultimately material nature works. That's how anything happens in this world. So those are the three doers. One who understands this, that he is not the doer, he is not the independent doer. He develops equal vision towards happiness and distress in this world. And ultimately, one who focuses on that supreme attains, understands that he is the ultimate doer, attains peace. So that's what we discussed last week. Now let's go back to sectional summary. So what we'll do, we'll high level go through this presentation and read the translations. Sorry. Yeah. So 3, 4, 5, the three chapters are very much connected. Third chapter talks about Karma Yoga, acting without attachment to the fruits of actions. And then fourth chapter talks about transcendental knowledge, knowledge beyond the material realm. And after these two, Arjuna is not very clear what is his path, what he should do. So he wants to doubly clarify with Krishna. So he asked Krishna, because he's thinking that these two are contradictory. Work and fighting and knowledge, they're contradictory. So he asks a definite answer from Krishna. And then Krishna answers that one who is detached from his work's results, he is the one who is truly renounced. So, true renunciation is actually renunciation of the fruits, works, results. Until then, it is not proven whether he is really renunciate or not. He should perform work and still be detached from the fruits. That's when we know clearly he is actually detached. Such a person knows that while the body acts, the soul actually does nothing. Because like we discussed, body is the actual actor, and body is material nature, and it doesn't listen to you or me, it listens to only Paramatma. So Paramatma as the sanctioner lets the work happen. So naturally, if Paramatma is the sanctioner, who should the fruits belong? You are only initiator. Paramatma sanctioned, material nature executed. And without his sanction, nothing would move. So ultimate benefactor of the fruits of any action is
material nature.
No. Benefactor means
Paramatma.
it should be Paramatma, correct.
Oh, okay.
So ultimately, because until he sanctions, nothing moves. We cannot do anything by ourselves. Ultimately, Paramatma has to sanction, and then material nature works together. So even this body is not my body, right? It is Krishna's property, right? Nothing belongs to us. We are tiny soul. Just we are independent of this body. We are awarded this body. For ultimate use of this body is to serve, do service for the pleasure of Krishna. So one who understands this is a true renunciant, because now he understands that he is not the independent doer. If I did some activity, it is a result of work of material nature because of the sanction of Paramatma.
Prabhu, I agree, but just a quick question. Let's take an example. Like in office, you have an idea. You propose it to you take approval from your manager and you execute. Who would get the result of that?
You proposed an idea and you execute.
But under the approval of your manager.
Okay.
But here I'm just trying to understand.
Oh, of course, he will also get the overall credit from his manager, right? Because you, and that's what matters. He can still stop you getting the result, right? At his level, he's definitely superior to you. So, um, but because in this case, the material nature is also under Krishna's control. It is his energy that is moving. We just decide, and based on our karma, Krishna is allowing material nature to work for us.
Hmm.
So everything belongs to him. We just,
Yeah.
in our case, it's just the idea, right? It's just the idea. We didn't even do.
Hmm.
That's how you should take it.
Got okay.
That example you're saying, person did the work, but in our case, it's all everything that belongs to Krishna that executed it.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
And also the idea is coming from Krishna. He is giving that intelligence.
Yeah, that's also there. I mean, if you mix the two analogies.
True. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So this is the summary, and it has 6 sections. I'll just so the first 6 verses begins with Arjuna's question. Krishna answers, Karma Yoga is superior to sannyasa. Sannyasa means renunciation. I'll discuss details when we discuss the sections. But to give one line understanding of this, why Karma Yoga is superior to sannyasa? Anybody? Just I want to make you all think so that you can remember these sections very well. Karma Yoga is superior to sannyasa.
In
Just
Karma
throw any
Yoga,
idea.
Karma Yoga, you are working for the pleasure of Krishna,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
In sannyasa,
So sannyasa means you don't even do the work, right?
Hello.
Renounce the work. Karma Yoga means you worked, but you just did it as a duty for purification. You are not attached to the fruits. So that's the difference between the two. So Karma Yoga is superior to sannyasa. Why? Because all of us
Because
have. Yeah. Go ahead.
we are dedicating our fruits of action to Krishna.
Yeah, that is Bhakti Yoga. I'm only talking about Karma Yoga.
That's karma.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, because the soul can never be inactive, it is always active
Yeah.
and it
That
has
is
to work.
yes. Because we have this material body, the pure soul has the material body. It is very difficult to stay idle. It has to work. And it's much easier to work than to renounce. That's the reason. Simply speaking, both are good, but working without attachment is superior because it's easy. Because you have this material body and you exist in the material realm, it's easier to be in harmony with material nature than to go against the material nature, uh, right? And to Krishna in another verse, he clarifies that uh, even to live in this world, you have to work. There is no way you can stay away from work. So, and then once that is clarified, you have to work. The next step is how to perform work, how to perform karma yoga. Hmm? So that Krishna clarifies um, the 3 doers and what is the right spirit to work. Hmm? Because he is not the ultimate doer. Who is the ultimate doer actually?
The material nature.
Mm, he is like a worker, right? Super soul is the ultimate doer, but he's not responsible for the results. Why? Because he's not the initiator. So initiator owns the responsibility. Ultimate doer is Krishna, so he gets the fruits. See the understanding here. Because he is the ultimate doer, he is the ultimate beneficiary, right? So it's like in a movie, director is like the soul, right? Producer gets the ultimate profits, right? Because he is the one who is putting the money, and all the workers, all the actors will get something, but the ultimate beneficiary is the investor in anything, right? Not the executor. So he gets the benefit, but the initiator is the jiva. So he owns the responsibility. If a movie gets flopped, director is blamed, not the producer, right? Because he's the one who is making things work. It's just like a CEO gets blamed, but not the investor if a company doesn't perform well. But Bill Gates will be the richest person if Microsoft does better. But if the blame goes, it goes to Satya, because that's how it works, isn't it? That's my way of seeing. Is that sounding right? Or
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
yeah. So how to be detached from one's actions and their fruits? That is basically understanding that ultimately material nature is the worker. We'll get into the details. So we stay detached because we understand jiva is independent of the body, and material nature is the doer, and Krishna is the sanctioner. Both are similar. The vision of the self-realized soul, we'll learn that how he it's a summary of the first three sections, and then the behavior of a self-realized soul, how his happiness is internal, and his external behavior is he just works dutifully for the benefit of everyone. He's not self-centered. And then how karma yoga transitions into bhakti yoga, that is the last section, by dedicating the fruits to God instead of just being renounced from the fruits. If you dedicate the fruits to God, that becomes bhakti yoga. Is that clear at a high level? Any questions here, or can move? Yeah. Now the first section. What is the first section? Karma yoga is superior to sannyas. So first three verses focus on the understanding that karma yoga is same as sannyasa but better, because working in devotion is better. One who works in devotion is true renunciate, the real sannyasi. He will easily achieve liberation. So that is how Krishna just answers. And then in the next two verses, he first clarifies this is better, and then he answers why it is better. Why it is better? Both lead to same goal of self-realization. However, renunciation is too difficult and distressful. Karma yoga is better because it is easier. Because you have this material body, it's easier to work than to because mind cannot stay calm and your senses would run away. So by working, your senses get purified, and by being detached, you would achieve liberation. So it's much easier. Being a conditioned soul, it's much easier for the jiva to work in the material world than to renounce. So it's easy. That's the main reason why karma yoga is better than sannyasa. Both are good, both achieve liberation, but it's much easy. Much more number of people can practice this because we are all having this material body. So let's read 1 to 6 verses.
Prabhu, question there, Prabhu. So ISKCON sannyasis are more busy than karma yogis, right?
Yeah.
But they are also sannyasis. They have renounced, but they use their time very productively, and they engage in so many things than like a regular karma yogi.
Mm.
Right
Oh,
here,
our sannyasis are not. So this sannyasa, the literal word sannyasa here means it's not the order sannyasa. In the varnashrama dharma, the sannyasa order comes, right? Sannyasa means just being renounced from work. So our sannyasis, they're like CEOs. They run around and run so many temples. So they are all performing bhakti yoga. So this sannyasa here refers to people. For example, there will be some people uh, in some places like what do you call in like Himalaya, near Himalayas, right? So those people, they don't do any work. They just go beg around and try to meditate. So those are people who renounce work. So it is talking about those people who renounce work in search of truth. But our our sannyasis are not like that. 100%. They're active. They're working. They're actually working. But that is all bhakti yoga. It's neither of these two, karma yoga nor sannyasa. It's superior to both.
But Prabhu, even to go and beg to get alms, he is performing some karmas. He's involved in some action. So
Actually, these people, they will be served. It means that somebody would bring, or they don't really go and actively beg. Some of them, at least. Yeah. Yeah. Some of them, some of the yogis, they don't eat for a long time. They just live by the sunlight. There are all kinds of renunciants, but it is, it's not practical for 99.9% of the people, right? So that is the kind of, and even Krishna says that is not any better than karma yoga at all. And in fact, karma yoga is better. Renounce the fruits is better. Okay, this section is over. So let's quickly read. I mean, it's going to be a straightforward, but
Prabhu, then
anybody-
like in ISKCON, brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi, everybody is a bhakti yogi.
yes.
And they don't.
I mean, mixed. Most of us are mixed bhakti yogis. Like sannyasis and brahmachari, you can say like they're really full bhakti yogis. Ours is all somewhat mixed because we are, we are still attached to the fruits of work. Some maybe, Harilash Maharaj, they're, even though they were working when they were working, they are really like bhakti yogis, proper. Some of you also may be like that, but I am definitely more like karma yogi than bhakti yogi, I feel. It depends,
I was just trying to understand, does it fall this these categories for ISKCON, or is it different? I just was
yeah,
curious.
all of us are focused on bhakti yoga because we understand.
Goal is bhakti yoga. We might
goal-
be in different
focused, yeah.
stages.
We may not be fully there. Even our Tulsi Gabbard, she always says, I'm a karma yogi. She never says I'm a bhakti yogi in her conversations. Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, this gives a lot of clarity, Prabhu. Karma yoga and sannyas, what you explained.
Yeah. So let's quickly read the verses. It's quick breezer. Okay. So Nanda Kumar Prabhu, Navadvip Prabhu, can you read first? First, 1 second. First 3 verses.
Yeah. Yeah. Arjuna said, "Oh Krishna, first of all, you ask me to work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?"
Straightforward. He's confused. Okay. Next.
The personality of God had replied, "The renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work."
Work in devotion service. I mean, actually, here the word is karma yoga, but Prabhupada ultimately gives the ultimate answer, so he translates into work in devotion service. Because Prabhupada focuses on the essence. Ultimately, that is the real goal. If you translate literally, because Krishna hasn't introduced Bhakti Yoga, he only talks about Karma Yoga here. But Prabhupada gives the ultimate essence. Okay, so both are good, but work in devotion service is better. Okay, next.
One who neither hates nor desires the fruit of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated. O mighty armed Arjuna.
Yep. So he is the real renunciant, one who hates nor desires the fruits of his activities. Because why? Because he's not the ultimate door. That it's not because I want to be detached because it's so frustrating. No, because he knows unless Krishna sanctioned, I would not be able to get the results. So he's very clear about that. That's the reason he's renounced. Yeah. Next, Dhananjay Prabhu, can you read next two? Unmute yourself and read two verses.
Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the result of both.
Yeah. So the ultimate result of either performing karma yoga or Sankhya yoga or Gnana yoga is the same. But then he clarifies here. Yeah. Next.
One who knows the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are.
They are going to give the same result. Yeah. Next.
Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay.
So merely renouncing work will not make one happy. Simply giving up work, because the nature of the body, the nature of the soul is to be active, and he's in the material nature, so he is forced to act. So it's not easy. It's very difficult to give up work in this world.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. That
Mhm.
was text 6 Prabhuji, text 7. Yeah. So here the Lord is saying, one who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be the same level sees things as they are, right? So that means we should not reject other paths. Text 5.
Yeah, the ultimate goal of both is same. So we should never condemn other paths. Yeah, that's true.
So here, analytical study is Jnana Yoga, Prabhu.
Yeah, Sankhya yoga or Gnana yoga, where one focuses on understanding the essence of everything, through the principle of 1990. Understand this is not truth, this is not truth. He does not get uh, distracted by the forms. He sees the essence of the form. So he sees.
Yeah. Okay. Prabhu, then the question is, usually in Jnana Yoga could also lead to speculations. Am I correct?
Yeah, it can. It depends on partly speculation also, because you have to analyze everything. That's how it works. That path. Today's time and days, hardly, rarely anybody does this. If you heard about Jiddu Krishnamurti, there are few people who were on that path, but they are also not really. And Ramana Maharshi, have you heard about Ramana Maharshi? Anybody?
Yeah, Prabhu. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
South.
that. Yeah, you look at his reading. I have studied his readings before. He goes in depth on this path of Jnana Yoga. But no, not many of his followers could follow what he was teaching. Again, same with G.T. Krishnamurti. He was amazing speaker. Everybody was attracted. You can go on YouTube to see him speak, so marvelously attractive, but nobody can follow his instructions. And that's what, when he was dying, he was asked what was, how did you feel about your life? He said, I spoke so much, but nobody really understood what I am speaking. That was his ultimate conclusion. It was so funny. So it's like that. But you see, Prabhupada gave a simple path. Even from the first year itself, people started changing their life completely. Even though they're American bodied, completely changed. Look at Dhananjay Prabhu, right? He doesn't know who is Krishna 3 years back. Now he's initiated chanting, doing services. So it's far more easier to work in devotion than to take to any of these other paths. While we should not condemn, it's not practical also. Should understand that.
Right, bro.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So now 7-2, Karma Yoga is superior to Sannyasa. How to perform Karma Yoga? So that is clarified in this. Because Karma Yoga is superior, we should understand how to perform Karma Yoga while living in this world. Um, so the first verse, 7th verse says, one should try to shelter and support all living entities just as he would take care of his own self, which is practically impossible without controlling one's own mind and intelligence. So we should be very liberal with all living entities, trying to see we should not be self-centered. This whole verse is speaking about not self-centered. You cannot be self-centered only if your mind and intelligence is in control, which can be done by chanting of the holy name. And then he should perform his duties with detachment. Understand that the soul, is not directly involved in these affairs, because he is the initiator, which are only automated interactions between the senses and sense objects. If a work gets done, it is basically interaction between senses and sense objects. That is 8 and 9. And then ultimately, he should give the fruits of his actions to Krishna. This ensures he is freed from fruitive motivation and thus untouched by any karmic reactions. Right? So he should live like this as specified in 7, and clarifies how he should be detached, and then offer the fruits to Krishna. The purpose is that the Karma Yogi performs his duties for purification, not out of attachment to fruits of his work. What is the reason a Karma Yogi performs work? He understands the purpose of his work is purification, not gratification. Gratification of the fruits of his work. Oh, I'm going to become a millionaire. No, he's not like that. He's only working so that he gets purified. So work for him becomes like a uh, like a opportunity to purify, right? He sees the work like that. He doesn't see work like, oh, this is going to give me this. See the difference in attitude. So the morning he wakes up, he just goes to work with that attitude, that that this work be done for the pleasure of Krishna. So he's not. If one becomes greedy for enjoyment, becomes entangled by his actions and suffers, because there will be good as well as bad results. So when bad results come, we get depressed. Now his mind is freed from attachment and aversion. Simply. So let's read this. How to perform Karma Yoga. 7-12. Yeah. Chaitanya Sundar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Can you read 7 to 10 translations only?
One who works in devotion, who's a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled.
Yeah, so this is, we can say all Prabhupada's disciples are like that, right? See, they are dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to them. They don't discriminate. Oh, this is a better devotee, or they are, even if a person comes for the first time, they will receive them with the same love because they love Krishna. They see Paramatma in the heart of the person, right? Though always working, such a man is never entangled. They may be, being engaged in all kinds of activities, but they are for the welfare of everyone, right? So, and ultimately, they are not attached to the fruits of the actions that they do, so they're never entangled.
A, a person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, and always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them.
Hmm. Basically, he clearly understands he is different from his body.
Hmm.
The body is part of material nature, and it is the interaction between senses and sense objects that keeps on happening, and he has nothing to do with it. So, while performing all these actions, he understands that I am not this body. I am not this body, very clearly.
Hmm. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water.
Yeah. So I remember His Holiness Sachinandan Swami Maharaj. He's one of the sannyas disciples of Srila Prabhupada, God brothers, for all the Prabhupada disciples. So he mentioned to us in one of the lectures a long time back. So the minute he wakes up, the first thing he reminds himself is, I'm not this body. He tries to live by that. I'm a pure spirit soul and I'm entangled in this material body.
Hmm.
And that consciousness, with that consciousness, he prays to Krishna to purely engage him in his chanting of japa that day. And then he starts japa in a prayerful mode. So when you start your day like that with a powerful consciousness, right, the minute you wake up, you think that I'm not this body, and this body is for the service of Krishna, and I'm here to do everything for Krishna's pleasure. With that powerful tone set for the day in the beginning of the day, and you chant effectively, and the whole day passes in that consciousness. So while reading this, I felt that's the consciousness of this person who how to perform karma yoga. Of course, Prabhupada converts it into more like a bhakti yoga because that's what the focus is for us. But that's the idea. He understands everything is interaction between senses and sense objects. He's independent of it. He's a pure spirit.
Correct.
Yep.
So,
So you read this, right?
Yes.
Surrendering the results to Krishna. So if that baseline understanding is there, that has to be. That's why in Prabhupada lecture he focuses on that baseline point. You're not this body, you're soul. Uh, when that understanding is there, all these other things base on that. When you don't run into any confusion or you know um, when that so the foundation understanding is there on a regular basis for us that I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul, I have no death, no birth, I'm eternally a servant of Krishna, I'm here only temporarily, and my purpose is to go back to Him. And everything is an arrangement for loving arrangement of the Lord for me to go back to Him. So when you have that foundational understanding very strong within your mind all the time, then it's a pleasure journey in this world. We know very well this is not the permanent place. Everything is temporary. Your family, home, everything is just in a temporary arrangement. So there is no attachment to the fruits that you work sincerely, but you're not attached to the fruits.
Mm.
So you work like a lotus leaf untouched by water, because you're so detached. So that consciousness should be fixed. We try to focus on being the servant of Krishna, but before that, we need to clearly understand we are not this body. We are not this body. Yeah.
Yeah, very powerful verses, Prabhuji. I think
Yeah. These verses are really powerful. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Read this also, Prabhu.
Yeah. So the yogis, abandoning attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification.
Hmm. So they act only for the purpose of purification. Everything is just a tool for them to purify their existence in the material world. So as we continue to be part of ISKCON, and in the beginning we have this, when we receive this foundational understanding, we focus on that. But as we spend more and more years, this foundation we take it for granted, and we don't focus on those fundamental principles that I am not this body. Krishna is the ultimate sanctioner. He is the ultimate beneficiary. So those points will go away, and whenever troubles come, people suffer like any other materialist. When negativities come in the life, uh, we should have better handle on that. If we don't have the baseline consciousness very very well fixed in our mind, we get, of course, we all go through some kind of suffering when troubles come. That's the nature of the material existence. But that baseline understanding should be very firm and fixed, so that we are not distracted.
Yeah, Prabhu. I think we should be thinking about these verses and some of those
Yeah.
ways. Senior people, devotees have shared with you. Like I think even when we're chanting every day,
Hmm.
we have to bring ourselves into that consciousness.
Yes, I am not this body. I am pure soul. I have no life, no birth, no death.
Mm.
Completely blissful. And I'm supposed to be a perfect servant of Krishna. So that we have to remind ourselves. If we don't remind ourselves on the soul every day, it's easy to you know go through the same suffering as anybody else outside, because the baseline is not there. We are doing everything in a like a ritual, but the baseline understanding is missing. So these verses are very powerful. This fifth chapter is very practical.
Mm.
Now you see this one. This is another powerful statement. Read
This,
this.
yeah. So the steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the results of all activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of labor, becomes entangled.
Hmm. If suppose you act like suppose in the restaurant, somebody is acting like a cashier, or take a bank, right? As long as he thinks that this cash doesn't belong to me, if suppose somebody comes and steals, he will not be disturbed as much. Of course, he is responsible overall, but as long as he's doing his duty, he understands that he's just a middleman. He doesn't own the Lakshmi, right? So like that, when one is detached from the results of the activities, that is when then real peace comes. So we are not peaceful because we have expectation of the results. Most of us go through this because we have expectation of results from the work we do. We are going through a lot of anxiety in our lives. So this is like a wake up call for us, right? So there is a person who is not in union with divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. It takes time. It's not easy, but so remember that. Always remind yourself, I am a spirit soul. I have nothing to do this with material world. Um, I have responsibilities towards my family, children, wife, husband. Uh, but ultimately, I am a tiny spirit soul. I have nothing to do with this material existence, and all the work I do is for my temporary living in this world. While this one life is like a flash in the entirety of my existence, right? This I remember this another statement. This is like in the very beginning classes when I was sitting in IIT, temple where devotee used to come and teach us. Once he brought one sannyasi also to us. So he told, understand that this one lifetime is like a flash, just like a flash. Because we don't understand like that, we make this like a big thing. You this one lifetime is like a flash. Whether you're rich, poor, doesn't matter. Did you make spiritual progress? That really matters because you have a human form. If you don't have a human form, even that doesn't matter. But because you have a human form, you have this opportunity. Only that matters. But understand this: you have already lived millions of lives, and potentially you live millions of lives if you don't perfect your life soon. So achieving something big in this life is immaterial because this is just like a flash. Just you know, what's so big about this one lifetime? You have a bigger home or small home, doesn't matter. Does it matter? It was like that was like a shock for me that day because I'm so new to Krishna consciousness. It
Mm.
made a lot of sense to me. I became freed from whether I get better marks in IIT, whether I get a good company in interview. All that is like off for me because I felt like so relieved because this one lifetime is a flash, even though we think it is so big.
Yeah, bro.
Very nice, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, personally also when Madhachandra Prabhu told
Mm,
me, because when we run go through the startup has its ups and downs and all kinds of challenges, right? So I
yeah.
can feel that word entangled.
Mm,
There are times when we feel like, oh, we are in control. We have to make all the choices, and we are, at least, I'm responsible, or I'm the one who's making the right choices.
mm,
Um, See, that it's a very subtle shift in the consciousness, but when
mm,
we put ourselves in the center
mm,
and think that we are the doer,
mm,
and then automatically you get entangled, attached with
mm.
the fear, the uncertainty. That's the real bondage. That's the fear, whatever
Yep.
the Lord talks about.
Mm,
That's what it is. And then the moment we see that, okay, we've made
mm,
some choices, the Lord has given us the opportunity to use whatever the skills we have, and we are in this path right now of,
mm,
let's say I have a startup, but the goal is to serve,
mm,
in whatever capacity, do the
mm,
best that I can to serve our customers who are also like representatives of the Lord's energy. But
mm.
also, if whatever happens out of this, my intent is to serve the Lord.
Yep.
When I try to refine my consciousness there, it just gives so much of peace. And then now it just becomes a duty that without attachment to the outcome.
Yep. Yep. That's true. Now the consciousness has changed,
Hmm.
right? That's what matters. I mean, even Krishna doesn't condemn Ishwar Bhava. Like Ishwar Bhava means being the controller, right? Uh, when he describes the Kshatriya qualities, Ishwar Bhava can be used in the service of Krishna as long as it is used, because people will be of these mindsets. Somebody wants, he's looking for profit, so he's a Vaishya Bhava or a Kshatriya Bhava, right? Ishwar Bhava. Those are all can be purified. with the right understanding. Not having those qualities is not, Krishna doesn't condemn actually. We'll later learn that. But as you said, now when you are able to see everything in Krishna conscious perspective, you have a uh, better outlook of the overall situation, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Now, how to be detached from one's actions and their fruits? Yeah. Um, yeah. So how, we all perform work. It's very important to understand. One is how to perform karma yoga. We discussed that. Now, while working, how to be detached from the fruits of that actions. So this is again, as we already discussed, understand that he is not the independent doer. You are not autonomous in your actions. You're, uh, it is only by the sanction that any work gets done. So, and again, this is what we are already been discussing. So understand that you are inhabitant of the body, just like inhabitant of city. Uh, City sanctions you many things. So like that, material body achieves you many things. Understand that you are different from the body, and all the work in this world is getting done by the body under the sanction of the Supreme Lord. Always see like that. Just like you are part of a city, and many things are done by city for you. So like that, mm, you only are initiator, and body is getting it done. And you always think you are the non-doer. You are the initiator. So body performs actions, not the soul. It just sees that the body, not the self, as the performer and cause of all the work. Therefore perceives material nature as the cause of all the worldly actions. But the responsibility of the work is on you, meaning um, the overall karma comes to you. By the way, because you are the initiator. Material nature works for you under the sanction of the Supreme Lord, but material nature or Paramatma, they are not responsible. You are the responsible person for that actions. Yeah, it's discussed here. Material nature is insentient, means it's lifeless. However, controlled by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he sees the Lord as the ultimate performer for all actions and the cause of all fruits. It is the matter that is doing. That is what is capable of doing. We cannot do because we are the soul. We are spiritual in nature and we are incapable of doing anything material. So material nature is working, and without sanction of Supreme Lord, it doesn't get done. So where is the question of owning the fruits of the work, right? It doesn't even make sense. So in that sense, we can understand that we are not entitled to for the fruits because it is the material nature that is getting it done, and it is the sanction of the Lord that is making it happen. So does it mean God is responsible for all the things that get done, good and bad things in this world? No, he's not responsible. He simply sanctions the activities desired by the soul. So soul being the initiator of the actions based on his desires, material or spiritual, and is therefore responsible for their good and bad reactions. Right? It's very important to understand. Lord is the ultimate doer, but not the one to get, not the one to be responsible for it, because our desires initiate the action. Very important statement here. There are three factors in any worldly activity: the desire of the living entity, the sanction of the super soul, and the transformation of material nature. Right? Material nature transforms. That's what work gets done means. What matter changes. If a software code is not there, it gets done. That's how material nature transforms. When the living entity desires of something, super soul may then command material nature to bring about the fulfillment. When a person understands it, he no longer thinks I'm the master and I'm independent. Rather, he thinks I can only desire, and if the Lord agrees, he can fulfill my desire through material nature. Knowing this allows him to be detached from the fruits of his endeavors, and he does effectively perform karma yoga, culminating in full enlightenment, leading to liberation. So, this is not an artificial idea, this is the fact. And when you understand this fact, firmly fix that understanding in your mind, you naturally become a karma yogi. There is nothing, no difficulty in that. We just need to shift our consciousness and tune ourselves to this proper understanding. Yeah. Let's read this 13 to 17. Yeah, who can read this? Chaitanya. Who is Chaitanya?
That's me, Prabhu. I can read, Prabhu.
Yeah, Mataji, yeah.
When the embodied living beings control his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done.
So when he renounces the action, he can see like this. He can resides happily in the city of 9 gates. So he thinks that this body is like a city, and the senses and everything is working in various ways, and that is getting the work done. Its body is like a city of 9 gates. That's how he says. He resides happily in the city of 9 gates. Okay, go ahead.
The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he include people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature.
He does not create activity. All the activity is done by material nature. He does not induce people to act. When you speak somebody to work, it is actually your mouth that is speaking. It's all, again, material nature. That is under the sanction of the Lord, that is acting. Nor does he create fruits of action. So naturally, he's not the actor. So he's not the creator of the fruits. Everything is done by modes of material nature, or material nature, you can say.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. A question on this. So, but is it the desire of the soul, right, Prabhu? So the soul is desiring to perform an activity, and so that's the initiator, and then the material nature is doing it with the sanction of the Supreme Lord.
Right.
So here it says, nor does he induce people to act.
I know, it gets confusing here. But how, suppose you're asking somebody to help you with some project, right? Now you feel that you are inducing the person to act. But who is actually doing that? The sense of, speaking, the act of speaking. What is that? Is that material nature, or is that soul?
That's
Act of speaking.
Material nature, yeah.
Yes. So it's actually material nature that is acting there. So, and the other person receives that, right? So overall, if you see, soul is just, it's a conscious thing that desires to take the help. That's it. Ultimately, it is the material nature, the city of 9 gates, that is going and acting to fulfill this.
Okay.
Yeah. So you are completely aloof. So understand that you are just so aloof from everything that's happening. You are the spirit soul. You, you cannot create fruits of action or induce anybody. That is the core understanding. This is like jnana. Everything is enacted by modes of material nature. It doesn't mean that you can go shoot somebody and say everything is enacted by modes of material nature. Why? Because the initiator is the responsible person there, right? For everything, initiator is you. So you take the entire responsibility of the action. But you are non-doer. Of course, you are non-doer. In that action also, you are not you are non-doer, but you are still responsible because you are the initiator.
You're the desirer.
You are the desirer. You still own the. Let's read this next verse.
Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge.
Some people blame God for all the natural disasters, right? And or even some sinful actions also they ascribe to God. Why God let this happen? But actually, it's all happening according to the desire of living in it is. Yeah, it's same point being stressed. This whole theme is so aligned, isn't it? The whole theme is just each verse is repealing one additional detail. Yeah. Why we do that? Because we are bewildered and we don't have proper knowledge. Next.
When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime.
Once one understands what is the knowledge he's talking about, that he is non-doer, he is a small spirit soul, and the material nature that is acting under the sanction of the Supreme Lord, and he is the initiator. When one understands that, everything is so peaceful for him. He's the non-doer. Yeah.
When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation.
Yeah. So basically, everything is fixed. So how do you fix? For example, we all discussed how we can fix our mind, intelligence, faith, and refuse on Supreme. Just like we last week we discussed, before performing any action, we say for the pleasure of Krishna. That is like fixing your intelligence and mind on Supreme. Before doing anything, just remember Krishna, chant Hare Krishna mantra. Whenever you're free, don't just go around different thoughts. Instead, focus on chanting Hare Krishna or remembering Krishna. So by doing that, one is cleansed of misgivings. Thus proceed straight on the path of liberation. You see, so what we thought last week was a very say practical solution to actually proceed on the path of liberation, right? You all agree? So this is what does it mean by fixing intelligence and Supreme? Means remembering Krishna, seeing everything in relation with Krishna, right? Everything that's happening, because nothing is independent of Krishna. Everything that happens is by the sanction of Krishna, right? So everything happens by, if everything happens by the sanction of Krishna, then if we understand and see everything in that way, then that's path of liberation, because his mind intelligence fixed on the Supreme. Yeah, next, let's read this. Now, what is the vision of such a self-realized soul? A person who is fixed his mind, like we discussed just now, right? So the liberated, enlightened soul sees everything and everyone equally because he has no attraction or aversion to matter and is thus flawless and impartial as the Lord. So this person has no attraction or aversion to matter. He is not fascinated by things of this world. Right? So he sees everything and everyone equally. So being without desire or hatred, his intelligence does not rejoice or lament. Rather, it remains sharp and fixed on the self. So intelligence is fixed on the self. Because What happens if a person is attached? Always mind is going through happiness and distress, attachment and aversion. Now, because this person's mind is so fixed, he understands I'm the spirit soul, I'm here for temporary. That underlying understanding is so clear for him with repeated focus on that. So, he's just fixed completely. So, being fixed on the self, he experiences great happiness within and is therefore never attracted to temporary sense gratification. So, his happiness is always inside. He's not seeking happiness from outside. Oh, I have a better job, I have a better salary, I have a better position in society, I am being recognized, name, fame, glory, money. All these things are not the factors that he considers to give him happiness. He's happy within because of his developed relationship with Supreme. That he has this connection with Supreme. He's able to pray and connect to him. He's able to chant and remember his name. So if he's able to do all those things nicely, he's happy. If he's not doing that, then he will be unhappy. He's not unhappy because he lost his job or any external factors. He lost his green card or whatever, which makes us all unhappy. His sense gratification is not going to touch his happiness at all. Coming towards the end, I think. And next section. So it's this whole chapter is so aligned. Now first understand what is karma yoga, right? And then understand the three doers. And Krishna himself recommends karma yoga to sannyasa because it's easy to do. Once you understand you want to become a karma yogi, you understand how to perform karma yoga, renouncing the fruits. And once you renounce the fruits, and you are also understand who are the three doers. Like how do you renounce the fruits? You need to understand the three doers. Otherwise, you cannot really renounce the fruits. You understand you are the initiator only. Krishna is the sanctioner, and material nature is the executor. Then it's easy to be detached. Now, with that consciousness, when somebody acts in this world, that was the previous section, he will achieve ultimate peace because his happiness is not dependent on external factors. It's all internal, right? So now, what's the internal and external behavior of a self-realized soul? So the karma yogi patiently tolerates the forces of desire and anger by focusing his happiness, activities, and goal inwards, and purifying his external activities by constantly working for the benefit of others. Right? So he tolerates. Even anybody gets influenced by the force of desire and anger. It's not that the desires don't disturb while somebody is karma yogi or one who is still on the path of bhakti yoga. Sometimes greed overtakes or lust overtakes. It's possible. Anger overtakes. But he patiently tolerates. He doesn't give way to that and incur sin or karma as part of that. So instead, he focuses his happiness, activities, goals inwards. So he focuses on in his inner development. How can I better perform devotion service? How can I better uh, serve devotees or chant better or read books better? So yeah, that's how it is. And naturally, when somebody does like that, all his actions, which are not self-centered, will help benefit everybody, not just himself, because that's the consciousness brings the action, right? If you have the right consciousness, the actions will be accordingly uh, performed, and naturally it benefits everyone because there is no selfish motive in that. So when one endeavors in that way, he soon attains liberation. 23 to 26. Oh, hold on, why? Oh, we missed this one. Oh, we read this, right? We didn't read the verses.
Yeah.
We didn't read, right? Or we did?
We didn't read the verses, Prabhu.
We did read, right?
No, Prabhu, no.
No?
No.
Okay, let's read this 18 to 12, 22 first. Yeah. Narhai Priya Prabhu. You already read, right?
No, Prabhuji.
Oh, you didn't read today? Okay. Yeah,
Should I
18.
read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater outcast.
So if you have the right consciousness, you will have this kind of a vision. Yeah.
Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman.
If one's mind is situated like that, right? Very fixed in the absolute truth. So he is already on the path of liberation.
A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence.
Just like a cashier, if somebody takes away money from the bank, not take away means withdraw money, he doesn't feel unhappy. Oh, I lost some money, because it's just bank that lost it. And if somebody deposits money, does he become happier? No, he's just a cashier. He's just depositing or withdrawing on behalf of the customer. So similarly, when all the things that are happening in our life are, they are all enacted by material nature. We are just non-doer in all these circumstances. So that's the trick, right? How to be give your full effort or sincere efforts towards work while being detached. It's very it requires a lot of practice and thought over that.
Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme.
His focus on his inner connection. So he's always happy because the Supreme Lord is Satchidananda. When one is in strong connection with him, he will get the same qualities as the Supreme. One more verse.
Yeah. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them.
So an intelligent person will be very careful when dealing with material senses. While the senses are very susceptible and easily wavered for quick sense gratification, an intelligent person will not let that happen, because he understands that it has a beginning and an end, and they are flickering and they're only going to distract you from the real goal. So he doesn't want to take chances. Yeah, this we already read. So the behavior of self-realized soul. Karma yogi patiently tolerates the forces of desire and anger by focusing his happiness, activities, and goals inwards and purifying his external activities by working for the benefit of others. So his internal behavior is he's focused on tolerating forces of desire and anger, and focuses on tolerating that, and instead focuses on his real happiness and goals inwards activities like Krishna conscious activities. That's what his real focus is. That's his internal behavior. His external behavior is, he is working for a company, so he will continue to work in such a way, in a detached fashion, which is for ultimately for the benefit of everyone. So this is internal and external behavior. So all of us as devotees, practicing devotees, we can also take this, this kind of attitude or behavior where internally we are, focused on our sadhana, Krishna consciousness, study of books, hearing and chanting, and that's where our, real focus is, and that's our real happiness. And external activities we perform, but just for the sake of it, as a matter of duty. In that way, um, we'll ultimately become a self-realized soul. Last section. Okay, let's read this 23 to 26. Yeah, Sakhi Priya Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Text 23. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world.
Yeah, even in this world, is able to practice tolerating the urges of material senses and check forces of desire and anger. He is situated. He will be happy.
Text 24. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme.
So it doesn't matter whether somebody is a very famous yogi, whether somebody is known as Jiddu Krishnamurti or Sadguru, though that's not the measure of greatness of a yogi. Even you or me or any of us can be also a perfect yogi if our aim is inward. And such a person is a real mystic. Yeah, he will ultimately attain the liberation.
Text 25.
Yeah, 25.
Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme.
Yeah. So they are all busy working for the welfare of all living entities. Just like all the Prabhupada disciples know, right? Completely. Yeah, next.
Text 26. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future.
So if somebody is free from anger and all material desires, then they are assured of liberation. See, so now this is called Falashruti, this part. After giving the the process, the method, every chapter is very structured, very well structured, right? And now if one does all those things as Krishna mentioned, this is the result. Now let's read the last section. Now this section is focused on transitioning from Karma Yoga to Bhakti Yoga. So in Karma Yoga, one is focused on being detached from the fruits of action, right? Now, when he advances to Bhakti Yoga, his focus will be on, offering the fruits to Supreme Lord. That's the difference, right? So he has the idea of Supreme. Yeah. So one who does purify his vision and activity by Nishkama Karma Yoga and can then make further advancement by the practice of meditation. How does he meditate? He meditate on the Paramatma within, Ashtanga Yoga. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pratyahara, Pranayama, Dhyana, Dharana, Samadhi. Right? So when the meditation is on the Supreme, that is the next stage. So what Krishna is talking here is called yoga ladder, sequential from karma kanda to karma yoga to jnana kanda. Once you have the knowledge, then knowledge of the Supreme, then from Ashtanga yoga and develop devotion, bhakti. So by meditating on the super soul, one can develop devotion to him, the supreme enjoyer, the ultimate controller and best friend. This is the last verse. Yeah. So this original chapter is from, is about karma yoga and transition to, bhakti yoga, but actually it is talking about Ashtanga yoga, where the yogi focuses his mind on the supreme, on the Paramatma within. Yeah. Now let's Sharavana Prabhu.
Yes. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. The transcendentalist aiming at liberation becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated.
This is Ashtanga yoga method, which also leads to liberation. So it's a mechanical process wherein one controls his breath, right? The outgoing breath and the inward coming breath. Ultimately, because the soul actually floats between these airs. Now he is trying to control the air so that he can balance. Next.
A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries.
Yeah. So this is the ultimate verse of this chapter, wherein Krishna says, ultimately, if you know me to be the real benefactor of all the actions, because he clearly told, without his sanction, nothing happens. And understand, not only that, he's the sanctioner, he's the supreme lord of everything, all the planets, demigods, well-wisher of all the living entities, everything, right? If you understand like that, then everything that happens, you understand this is given by my well-wisher, right? Who is the supreme lord, he's the benefactor. Then there is no misery, because you understand everything is for your benefit. You'll be freed from the pangs of material miseries. Now this chapter is done. Let's read couple of important verses. Let's read together. This verse is very important. We can all unmute yourself and read together. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam
Bhoktaram Yajnatapasam
sarvaloka maheshwaram
Sarvalokamaheeshwaram.
Suhridam Sarvabhutanam.
Hridam Sarvabhutanam.
Yatva Mam Santim Richate.
Tvamam Shantim Rachati.
This, I hope, you all should remember this. I hope you already remember, but if you don't, you can all. So these verses you can always use as your prayers when you are, before the deity. You can also offer this as a prayer. Let's read one more. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne.
Brahmane Gavihastini.
Brahmane Gavihastini.
Sunicheva Swapakecha.
Sunitaiva Swapakecha.
Pandita Samadarshina.
Panditaha Samadarshinaha.
Yeah, I think that's enough too. These are all important. Okay, let's go quickly and see if you have some takeaways you can share with everyone, so we can fix our mind on some of these important points we discussed today. Let's start from bottom, because some of these devotees didn't get chance. Sridhar Gopal Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. If you keep on meditating on the spirit soul, not the body, that changes the consciousness. So whatever the consciousness that we have, that is the root for the attitude that we're going to acquire. So under any situation, the attitude that we acquire depends on the consciousness that we have. So based on that attitude, our actions depends. So which determines the progress of our spiritual path. So consciousness is the root, which defines defines the attitude that we decide to take at any situation, and which determines the progress of our spiritual path.
Yeah.
So meditating on that point, spirit soul, that really helps.
Yeah. So every day, like we discussed, every day when you wake up in the morning, the first thing is remember that you're not this body, you're spirit soul, you're servant of Krishna. And your existence is for the pleasure of Krishna. Like that, you can add some more points that you think are relevant in that context. Yeah. So that aligns all your actions, right? Because that is the consciousness you began your day with. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Sujata Radhika Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
We are starting from bottom so that you will get to speak before others.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
So while she's waiting, I'll go, Prabhu. When she's thinking now.
Sure.
So, Prabhu, I think the most important thing which is emphasized is just artificially renouncing from work is more difficult than just doing your work and leading a karma yoga, and getting to the path of perfection is a lot more easier than just artificially renouncing work and trying to perfect yourself, which is a very difficult process.
Very good. Yeah. So the first section is summary. Prabhu summarized the first section, which is Karma Yoga is easier and so is better than sannyasa. Simply renouncing work is not practical. Is not practical. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhu, I'll tag along. So in that context, doing devotional service, right, and jnana yoga, like if we are asked to study the concept theory, it just stays in the mind as a concept. But when we are asked to do practical things, engaging your senses, like all your senses. In devotional service, it is practical. You are able to, even the deity, you are able to see the deity. You say in some processes, they say, okay, every Krishna, God is everywhere. You can see in the space, but I can't see that space as God. I don't have that level of consciousness yet. Krishna is everywhere, but to see physically, do things like chanting, like offering prasadams, like connecting every single thing to Krishna, devotional service helps than to being in a jnana yogi just as a concept.
Yeah, that's true. That's very practical statement you made. Bhakti yoga is very easy path because if God is everywhere, God is also in the deity. That's the whole understanding. And especially it is there because a pure devotee invited him, the Lord, to kindly grace the deity form. So on the request of the pure devotee, deity has been sheltered by the Supreme Lord. So that's very good point. Yeah. So these are all arguments people give. Why only go to temple? God is everywhere. My father used to tell me like that before. No, why your mom always goes to temple? And she used to go every day almost. And he would say, I don't. He will not ask her because he won't change. He will tell us that why your mom always goes. Temple is God is everywhere. He's also in our house. She can go stay here like that. They can't see if we don't have devotional bent. Can't see that.
Mom used to say the opposite. God is everywhere. We don't have to go to the temple.
Yeah.
So, and I have a who is in art of living. She, like, long back when she spoke, she said she spoke about space like 10 times. I said I can't worship space.
Yeah, people have all confused understandings. And so the real process is first you should be able to see God within the deity in your home. Then when you are fixed in that understanding, then you are able to see the deity in the temple. And then you start seeing the deity in the heart of every living entity. So the vision should expand from, so you need to purify to be able to see like that. But people just say it like a statement, God is everywhere without any purification or, having that vision, which comes after a lot of purification. Right? Should be. It's also correct that you can see God in the space, but you are not advanced like that. Like there is a radio signal everywhere. Can you tap it? No, you need a powerful receiver to, access that. God is everywhere, but do you have the potency to actually access God? That is everywhere. That's what matters most. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Sita Priti Mataji.
Who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord. So here we should see everything belongs to Krishna. He is the proprietor of everything, and everything belongs to him only. People who are not in Krishna consciousness, they think according to the concept of material body and senses. But people who are in Krishna consciousness, the one who is Krishna consciousness, they act according to the
Understanding.
Understanding that everything belongs to Krishna, and this body is also the property of Krishna.
Yes.
We should engage ourselves in service of Krishna. So this is the point that.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. So basically, our body is also property of Krishna. So therefore, we are never the ultimate doer. Yeah, thank you, Mataji. And then, did Sharvana Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. So the key takeaway is about the three doers of any activity. So One is the self, the second is the supreme soul, the third is the material nature. So when we do any activity, we desire for it, but then it's actually done by the material nature, and Krishna ultimately is overseeing and permitting us to do it. So that realization we need to have when we perform any activity. We shouldn't think that I did it, but rather by the mercy of Krishna, we were able to do it.
So many devotees just speak like that, but now with that with this understanding that very clearly that Lord is the sanctioner, material nature is the real doer. This understanding, we should be very clear why we say that. Right? All of us use these words, but do we really understand the inner meaning of what we say? We just say out of culture, right? Because in the temple, everybody says, Krishna, it's by Krishna's mercy I got this. But do you really understand what that Krishna's mercy is when you say that? So yeah, this is very important to understand the three doers. Because when you speak that language with any outsider, they won't relate to it unless you really specify the details of how that is true. Right? Yeah. And then thank you, Prabhu. I think you specified one of the most important points. Navadvip Nandadulal, Prabhu.
Yeah, bro. The key takeaway was when you mentioned this life is more like a flash in the pan. So, however, one might be rich or the poor, at the end of the day, if he has not spiritually progressed as a human being, he has wasted his life. So
Yeah.
that was one key takeaway. The other is we all should be more like a lotus a leaf, which is
Water on the
untouched.
lotus.
Yeah, yeah. So we should never be touched by desires or the intent to gratify ourselves. We have to just continue performing our duties and live the fruits to the Lord. So He will decide what is right and what is wrong for us.
Yeah, good. So like Sarvana Prabhu, this is a perfect sequel to what Sarvana Prabhu said. Once you understand the three doers, now understand that this the existence in material world is a temporary thing, and when performing this work in this world, you should be detached. And when you act in that consciousness, you will be liberated. Krishna promises in that. Thank you, Prabhu. Narahari Priya Prabhu.
Prabhuji, the point that you mentioned, Satyananda Maharaj mentions that the moment we get up, think that we are not, again, this is the same thing which Shamukan Prabhu also mentioned, but yeah, that we should try to be in the consciousness that we are not this body, we are the soul, and then chant, so that helps in our chanting and also sets the
Direction.
Platform for, direction for the day also.
Thank you so much. Yeah, very practical point you said. Yeah. Chaitanya Mataji. Sorry, your name.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, your name, Mataji?
Chaitanya, Prabhu.
Oh, Chaitanya. Okay. I don't remember your face. So yeah, okay. Go ahead, Mataji.
My takeaway for today's class is though Krishna is the ultimate doer and ultimate beneficiary, we are responsible for our actions as an initiators. And another takeaway is working in the devotion is good, but working in devotion is better.
Working in devotion is best. Yeah.
And one more takeaway is how to perform karma yoga. Few of the points are very interesting, Prabhu. It's not being self-centered, and soul is not involved in the actions we are doing, and purification of oneself is very important, and giving the fruits of our labor to Krishna is very important.
Oh, you summarized a lot of important points. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Chaitanya Sundar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think Chaitanya Mataji has summarized really well. I think I'm somehow meditating on the verse number 11, Prabhu. Abandoning attachment, acting with the body, mind, and intelligence, senses only for the purpose of purification. And I guess 10 and 11 combined is what somehow caught my at least. So to surrender the results to the Lord and combine everything that we are doing to the Lord.
Yep.
And only for the purpose of purification. I think it's very easy to get caught up on even within in the, at least in the initial stages we are in, even some of the progress that we are thinking, we start taking
our progress is generally mostly external, we just adopt chanting.
Exactly. So we and then we kind of attach that to success. I'm thinking, yeah, that's why I think
we have to really transform inward. No, just by wearing dhoti, kurta, tilak, and then chanting every day, but not really investing your consciousness and tuning your consciousness and being detached, from our regular actions without proper understanding of the philosophy. We are just mere, more or less like a
ritualist.
What do you say?
Ritual again. It becomes
yeah, more or less external devotees, I would say.
Yeah.
Not really. Yeah, no. Some people, just focus on the externals. We should not be like that. We should not be activity based, focused on activities. Like, oh, I did this or not. Did I participate in that? We should not be thinking like that in those terms. Actually, should really always connect with Krishna and focus on the core essence. We should become mature like that. Then there is real development. That's when we really can be detached and we really achieve the peace that Krishna is promising in the last verse, right? Really understand Bhaktara and Vidyutapasa. Ultimately, Krishna is the benefactor, right? Yep. Thank you, Prabhu. Jai Shri Mataji.
Yeah. So for me, the flash, our life is just a flash. That example that you gave was really profound, Prabhuji. Whether we are poor or rich, Navdeep Prabhu has already.
Yeah, that's also one of my. It stick to me even though I heard like long time back. Really moved me. Then I became free. It's so liberating because this one life is a flash. What are you so lamenting about in life? It's a short journey.
Yes, Prabhuji. And then this particular text in text 12, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. So that I was reflecting on that also, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I also felt like this is where I'm stuck right now.
There is a fine line between devotional service. Sometimes devotional service also becomes a fruitive labor for greed or for something. So that's where it all again boils down to the initial point that you brought up about Sachinandan Prabhu, that we are not the body, we are the soul, and we have to, every activity before we perform, let it be for the pleasure of Krishna. That consciousness we have to continuously keep reminding ourselves.
We should basically today morning when I was just frank with you all. Today morning when I was doing deity worship, I felt like I'm so fruity minded in so many things. What am I doing after 15 years? Still stuck in all this. Because I read this chapter, this is like I'm still so much to do still. Unless we accept where we stand, it's very difficult to make progress. We have to accept our shortcomings, then pray to Krishna, to help us get out of this situation. I really felt like arose in a way after doing deity worship, being with the Lord. This was like lingering in my mind. Still, I'm so fruity minded. When will I, How will I develop from that state?
Very coincidental, Prabhu. Even I was, in fact, when I was assisting in cooking, I was getting this thought in my mind: why am I so, still I'm so selfish, so fruitive-minded? Something is really wrong with me. I was getting that
Even
bad
sometimes the same.
consciousness.
I don't know. Maybe at the same time you're up. I'm upstairs. You're downstairs. You're cooking.
Prabhuji, Lord, that's why Lord gave forgetfulness. The flash comes when we are in class. The flash goes away when we go out of the class.
Yeah.
The saintly minds think like, looks like.
Shortcomings.
Yeah.
But one takeaway is probably to reread this chapter for, from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So every time we read, we get newer and newer realizations. That's how powerful these chapters are. Bhagavad Gita chapters.
Yes.
It's I like maybe dozens of times I read. Still, like every time it's a fresh realization that stucks. Sakipriya Mataji. Anybody else? I didn't speak.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
One thing before Mataji says.
What?
The last one that I wanted to always remember at least is like we have to always look inward. Probably that's what you told. To always our aim is should be always in the inward development, inward progress, not external.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's Krishna's words. 1 second, inward. Towards the last verses.
24.
24. Yeah, 24. Yeah. Happiness is within. Means if you have chanted, you are able to chant nicely. Remember Krishna and ate prasadam. You should be happy. You should not worry about other things. Whether the earthquake came or your house is flat, or or you lost something. This that should concern, but should not become a depression. That's what this means. Inward focus. You are doing Krishna consciousness properly or not? That's what really matters. Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, before leaving the body, when he was, in the almost last days of his life, he would tell Radhanath Maharaj that I am so inward connected with Krishna, so joyful in the current state, I would not exchange my current physical situation to anything else. He said that, which he means he was externally excruciating pain because of bone cancer that he has. He was almost like a skeleton. But even in that state, he was inwardly completely blissful. He says, even in this situation, I would not exchange my current position to my physical state to anyone's, which means that he is so Krishna conscious that his inward consciousness is so fixed. He is still blissful even in that state. It doesn't mean that he is not having any physical pain. He has physical pain, but that happiness overseeded the physical pain. Yeah.
Like Kunti Devi.
Right, yeah. Because of her connection with Krishna, she's always safe. And she's always inviting new problems also because he knows she will be protected by Krishna, right? Anybody else still not done?
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Mataji.
Prabhu.
Yeah, Sakipriya Mataji, yeah.
Actually, today I liked the verses 7 to 12, which every grihastha, we are doing, like how to do karma yoga. Basically, the dutiful householder, how he has to perform his karma yoga. Like you gave the 4 pointers in the presentation slides, and they were really good for me to take home, like to meditate on in my life, like that Krishna says, the karma yogi performs his duties for the purification, for his own purification, not out of attachment to the fruits of his work. So basically, therefore he attains, that way he remains in a peaceful state. So, but those who are greedy for enjoyment, however, become entangled by their actions and suffer and fall down. So that's a cause for greedy. So I like that point very much in that, how, like, being a householder, how to perform karma yoga. That
All
point.
of us, yeah.
Yeah, and also going to that text 18 to 22, Krishna says about, talks about the vision of the self-realized soul. There he says the liberated soul sees everything and everyone equally because he has no attraction or aversion like to the matter. So that verse also, like, really stuck, like, what we have to work towards to from karma yoga and how we have to, where we have to go. And another point is being fixed on the self, like, this realized soul, like being fixed on the self, he experiences great happiness within and is therefore never attracted to temporary sense gratification, which is the actual source of misery. It's pretty clear, like,
Yeah.
where we have to,
So this is very important point, this last point. Once we are fixed in Krishna consciousness, there is going to be great happiness within, and will not fall prey to sense gratification. That's why this fixing is what we are trying to do. Before doing the activity, just remember Krishna once. That way you can fix your mind, and then naturally, whether how the work gets done should not disturb you much. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for joining the class today. I hope this was a very enlightening chapter for all of us. We'll stop here and we'll continue discussing 6th chapter next week. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, bro.